Welcome to the Sliver and Bite podcast. I'm Chris, baker, entrepreneur, and big business survivor. Here we'll explore the challenges of entrepreneurship and flick the switch on self-discovery in order to carve out your own path. So join me on a journey which will hopefully enlighten, entertain, and educate. On today's episode, I think that bad managers out there are just, to put it bluntly, are shitty people. Obviously, with any type of poor management or great management comes learning. It's important as a manager to have a heightened sense of awareness. Being a manager, it's not a cakewalk. So, welcome back to those that are following my journey as a YouTube creator, and welcome to those that are just stumbling across me now. It's great to have you with me. Today is an interesting topic: management. Can't live with them, can't live without them. Or should I reframe that as can't work with them, can't operate without them? Now, this episode isn't targeting any particular type of manager. I'm going to go through the full spectrum. I want to preface that I am not singling out any particular manager or trying to beat anyone down. I just want to give the facts, and I also want to just give some of my experience, which is not all bad. And obviously, with any type of poor management or great management comes learning. So this is about imparting my knowledge and my observations of management to you and out there, because we can all be better managers. Like I said in my pondering, I am an entrepreneur and I don't have a staff. I work by myself. So I manage myself regardless of being a sole trader or working in a large corporation. Everyone has a manager. One thing I really want to say here is managers, whether that is somebody on the front line looking after a handful of staff members, or the CEO looking after 5,000 plus employees, I feel that this could be your awakening. And feel free, if you're not ready to hear the truth, turn me off. You don't need to listen to this. And it may be uncomfortable. And feel free to scream at whatever mode you are using to listen to this podcast. Scream at me, because management and being a manager and being managed, it's difficult. It's really difficult. But if you think that you are the pinnacle of management and you've got it all under control, think again. Because that CEO and that general manager that's sitting behind their desk, get out from underneath it. Go and walk around, because your staff, they're not happy. And what is really conflicting in all of this is that they never will be happy. However, you can be there. You can be present. Coming off the back of episode 5, Customer Service 101, heavily concerned with management and the processes that you have in place can make or break your business. And the CEO or the general manager that's sitting there, thinking that everything's okay. They're getting the feedback from the frontline manager saying everyone's happy and everyone is content. If you're okay with that, you're living in a world where you're not quite with it. Your finger is not on the pulse. And if you think that is okay and you've got the frontline manager's word, have a good long hard look at yourself, because again, they're not happy. There's always room for improvement. Now, you know I love my definitions, and I think it's always a great place to start. So, a reputable dictionary, their definition for management is the activity or job of being in charge of a company, organization, department, or team of employees. That is management. Now for the definition of leader. A person who manages or controls other people, especially because of their ability or position. And now I'm just scrolling through another reputable source of information here. The differences between managers and leaders. So leaders create a vision, managers create goals. Leaders are change agents. Managers maintain the status quo. Leaders are unique. Managers copy. That's an interesting one. Leaders take risks. Managers control risk. That's another good one. Leaders are in for the long haul. Managers think short term. Last one. Leaders grow personality. Managers rely on existing proven skills. Very interesting. I mean, there's so many more here. But look, it's really difficult to pin down a definition that is unique to your business. I create cooking videos, and a hotel has a completely different meaning for management and leadership in that realm. So there is no cookie cutter definition for the broad field that is management and leadership. However, let's bring it in to 3 different subsets. I can only talk about what I know. So I'm going to talk about leadership pertaining to myself and my YouTube channel and myself being a creator. And then we'll move on to my experience with large business and corporations, because I have experience in that area. And then the difference between the two, small business and corporations, because I'm living that life now as a delivery partner. So first up, let's talk about me and how I manage and lead myself. If you had caught my pondering on YouTube, I had mentioned that it's not so much management, but preservation, because I am my own worst enemy. I can talk the talk, but sometimes it's really difficult to walk the walk. I find it's so easy to lose motivation as a sole trader and working for myself, and the inspiration like an hourglass, sometimes runs dry. And it's as if I forget to tip the hourglass back over to go, here we go again. This is a fresh start, a new day. So I mentioned we've really got to lean on each other as small business owners and operators. Reach out to your friends within the business. See what they're going through, because there is a 99.9% chance that they're going through the exact same thing. And they also need the pump up. And I mentioned that every time I get back from my barber, she is a small business owner, I feel inspired. And I don't know whether it's just because I've had a beard trim and a haircut and I've had my waxing done. That's why I feel confident and reinvigorated to film myself and talk about, that experience. Or whether she's pumped me up. I think it's a little of both. I feel good and on the outside, and I feel good on the inside because I've been able to talk about it. And it's very easy for me on a daily basis to get up, do some delivery partner work, come home, cook, edit the video, and post it. And I'm telling you, in a day, that can fill my day and then some. So I get into this cycle. And I'm not sure if you've seen the video online of the jellyfish that got caught in an air bubble and they're just spinning. I feel like sometimes I'm spinning and I'm stuck in a loop. So it's important to break that cycle. And if you are a small business owner, think about the other small businesses in your area, because some businesses actually look large, but they're not. They're run by one person with either by themselves or a very small staff, but they've got the appearance of looking big. And it's interesting, I had a friend of a friend. She was visiting from overseas, and she came by my apartment that I was operating out of a few years ago. And she said, this is where you create all of the cupcakes and the cakes that you post? And I said, yeah. She goes, I was under the impression that you had a commercial kitchen of a considerable size behind you. And I said, no, just this little humble apartment kitchen. So you never know. Small businesses, they're out there and they are there to support you because they in turn need support. So let's talk about how I stay sane and continue going. I had somebody, granted, it was a couple of months ago now, and he had mentioned to me, he said, I'm impressed that you're still going. This was before hitting even 100 subscribers on YouTube. And I would have created at least 100 plus videos back then. How do you keep going when you're not getting the recognition? And I was surprised myself because, is that not the definition of insanity? To continue doing the exact same thing and not getting a result? So I stay sane by listening to other podcasters, and I draw the hope and the optimism from them because they've made it. So I'm staying the course, and I'm building my army, which is my YouTube videos. Because at some point, when I've got enough behind me and I've got a large enough catalogue of recipes, people will come back to me and go, oh, I wonder if Sliver and Bite has a chocolate batter recipe. Oh, they do. Cool. I wonder if they've got a Thai green curry recipe. Oh, yes, that's good. I get enough positive outcomes from people recreating my recipes, and I'll be the go-to. That's the hope. So I need to continue creating at this point so that I've got this army of videos behind me that will then serve their purpose in the long run, because I can't just rest at this point going, great, I've made X amount of long form videos, recipes, this should do. No, I've got to keep on going. And I've got to push myself, because I'm learning so much. Just recently, I had created a new French mother sauce, Velvety, which is velvet in French. Velvety, rather. And I thought it would be a cakewalk. However, it was so much harder than hollandaise. And I really thought that hollandaise was going to be my problem sauce. So, just so interesting. I'm learning constantly. And just recently adapted that recipe into a soup. It's just phenomenal. And if you can believe it, my sister couldn't believe it. I had never made soup before. So, my mind is blown by what I'm capable of. And that is inspiration in itself. And also, another way to inspire and continue going is not to look at the small picture. I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. You can't look at, I'll adapt it to the kitchen, to the mess in front of you. Take a step back. Hover over the possible creation that you've just created and you've taken pictures of. Sure, you've got some mess to clean up in the kitchen. However, look at what you've just created. There is always this push-pull of negative and positive. It is all about your frame of mind. Don't look at the dishes. Stand back and look at the bigger picture, because there's a positive takeaway in everything. So as I was listening to that audio back, there was one key takeaway for myself, that obviously long term, I want this to be a source of income. Once I am able to monetize through YouTube, that will be an area of income for myself. However, as I was recording that was not the motivation. The motivation was about creating videos to post to benefit others. There was a selfless angle that I was in at that point as I was recording that. It wasn't, I'm recording that, making sure I'm getting a lot of videos up, because the more videos I get up, the more subscribers I get. And the quicker I get to the subscriber limit and the watch hours, then I can start earning money from this godforsaken app. That's not where I was. So the money will come, and this is where I'm getting that positive reinforcement and learnings from other podcasters, is that the money will come. I need to, like I said, stay the course, create that army of videos behind me that will serve me in the future. But unless you're having fun doing it, why bother? Find another area to go in, because this is not for the faint of heart. Working for yourself is not easy. Digging deep for that motivation, and, for the most part, you've only got yourself to inspire yourself, and you've only got yourself to blame, because, when you wake up, you are creating your destiny as a small business owner, and that is not easy. It takes a lot of courage to back yourself. And to anyone that's listening out there and they feel that they are helpless, don't think that. You can do it. Look at that bigger picture. Stand back. View what the possibilities are. Don't think about the mess in front of you. Stand back and think about what you can create, because that mess is short-term. That is a short-term problem. 10 minutes and you can wash those dishes and wipe down the benches and you can sit down and relax. But think about how many times you wash those dishes and clean up that little mess as to how much I'm creating. I am upwards of, 150 long-form videos now, and it's not something that I often think about, but that's a lot of time in the kitchen. That's a lot of creations. That's a lot of learning. Stop and pat yourself on the back every now and then, because whilst it's nice to get the feedback from other people and the comments and the praise and the acknowledgement of, wow, you're really doing it, the only person that really you can rely on and that you have to rely on is yourself. So cut yourself some slack and praise yourself every now and then, because you're doing it. You're making it work. Be kind to yourself. I think that is a great place to leave management, self-management, self-preservation for my situation and my small business. So let's head on to big business and corporations. So I have worked in a big business for 11 years, and there were obviously ups and downs in that time, but it's a whole other world when you pit that against small business. Everything is larger. Everything has more of a ripple effect when it comes to managers and their impact on staff members. So if you're a manager listening to this, why are you a manager? What led you to be in this position? If it was down to hard work and you've worked from the lowest entry-level position and you've worked your way honestly and without stepping on people to get to this management role, congratulations. If you're at this position because you were sucking the proverbial D, we all know that. If you are walking around your place of business with your head held high and you are the boss, you're the man, well, guess what? We all know how you got there. So just think about that for a second, because you're not fooling anyone. And in this day and age, the era of social media and the fact that authenticity is so important to people now, I think reflection is probably where you need to start, because being a manager is fully understanding what your subordinates are going through. And the way that you engage with them is of the utmost importance. And here is a little something to reflect on. You've got your different shifts, and they're split into 3 sections. You've got your AM, your PM, and your overnight shift, if that's the split. Are you concerning yourself about what that 3 PM shift starter is going through? Because there's a good chance that they finish at 11, 12 PM, given the opportunity to get out on time, and then they head home. Then they need to unwind for an hour or 2. And that brings them to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then they sleep because they need to be ready for the shift ahead, which probably will start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon again. That's a vicious cycle. Shift work is absolutely horrible and completely messes with your body clock. I know. I've lived it. In hospitality, I did a lot of afternoon shifts, and it's taxing. You actually lose your life because you are spending the majority of the day sleeping, because your whole life is moved forward 8 hours basically. So think about that. You can't just go, yes, we've covered somebody for that afternoon shift. What does it actually mean? It's having a holistic and genuine feeling for your staff members. In the previous episode, I spoke a lot about the importance of choosing the right people. And then now it's about treating them right, having respect for them. Because if you protect the business and that's your only goal here as a manager, you're looking at it from the wrong angle. You need to be protecting the people that work for you, because if you protect and you treat them with respect, in turn, they will look after your business. And let's talk authenticity. So it is extremely important to be authentic and genuine with your staff members, because they will see through the bullshit. They will. And on several occasions, I've been in grocery stores where I've overheard staff conversing front of house about how poor management is. That is not a good look for your business. And I'm not the only one that's picking up on this. Especially if you're in a grocery store, you've got several people walking the aisles whilst you've got 2 staff members bitching about management. That doesn't look so good. And whilst it might not be relevant to them, the customer right there and then in that situation, it'll come up further down the line. I heard the staff members bitching about management, so that place must be poorly run, or the corporation is toxic. And whilst it could have been completely taken out of context, and the staff members could be completely out of line because they're not aware of the larger picture, that leads me into my next point: communication. I spoke about this in the previous episode, Customer Service 101. The staff members need to be abreast of what is actually happening within the business. You owe it to them to inform them of major changes and the reasons why. I'm not talking the finer details and how you got there, but overall, there needs to be some understanding, because staff members can only be effective if they know what their reason for being there is. Sure, at a retail store, there is a very simple job description: greet customers, sell them the items, and make sure that you take their money and give them a receipt, at its very basic instruction. However, if they're coming in and all of a sudden, there's no jackets available, well, don't you think that they should know why? And there may be a very important and valid reason as to why, but if they're unable to advise the customer as to why there's no jackets, well, you failed. So, and how do you think that makes them feel? And then the managers and the leaders' response could be, well, how come you couldn't think on your feet and make up something? That's not for them to make up. They can't fill in the gaps because you neglected to provide them with the necessary information. And then the way that you respond to that and the way that you make them feel, that also is important. I am well aware that I have skipped through some very vital points here, but the way that you converse with your staff, very important. Because the way that you treat a staff member, and it could be an off-the-cuff remark about their performance, this is something that will stay with them, potentially. You may have a staff member that is quite happy with where they are and very confident, but I'm telling you, a large portion of the staff members out there that report to a manager, what management say to them, however abrupt or in a controlled environment, affects them. And then you need to think about how that chain of events potentially unfolds. I'm going to go dark here, but you have a off-the-cuff remark that hurts the feeling of a staff member that then goes home to their family, and you've shot their self-worth, and all of a sudden they take it out on their family and makes the partner and the child feel that they've done something wrong because their partner is upset. And it has nothing to do with them, but when you chase it back, it was all because of your off-the-cuff shitty remark that led to the family being hurt. It sounds like a sensational concept, But I'm telling you right now, it's not. You're looking at the mess in front of you in the kitchen, and you're dealing with this little mess that you need to clean up. As a manager, you need to step back and look at the kitchen, because that little mess may have created something amazing, and then you've just shot the confidence of them. You can't react in the moment. You've got to have that benefit of the doubt and go in with a more controlled attitude, because the repercussions could be dire. In the same breath, if you are a frontline worker that reports to a manager, let's just think about where they've just come from and how they're feeling, because there are always two sides to the coin. And managers have feelings too. And managers also report to somebody, and their confidence may have just been shot. So as subordinates, as frontline employees, we also need to have a little understanding, because that manager possibly had just gotten reprimanded, or they have just had their ear chewed from a customer that was on the phone to them, and their confidence was shot. So there is a little understanding both ways. However, as a manager and a leader, you have been chosen, or you have worked your way up to this position of authority. And don't forget, being in a management role, it's not a right. It's a privilege. And you're not this high and mighty being. You're working for your staff members. You need to be there for them. You can't just sit there and instruct and crack the whip. You're working for them. You're paying them. You're figuring out their schedule. You're providing guidance, and you're coaching. That, to me, sounds like you're working for them. That's a massive awakening to people that are sitting there in their ivory tower going, look at what I'm in control of. Well, you're not really in control of anything. The business and the employees, they have control of you. It's important as a manager to have a heightened sense of awareness. Being a manager, it's not a cakewalk. So for those employees that are listening and are hoping to get into management, being in management isn't easy, because you've got to really be across everything. You really can't be in a business or a corporation and work in these silos, because that it just doesn't work. You know, the left hand and the right hand need to work together, because if they're off doing their own thing, you split, and you can't be. You really do need to create a workplace that works together. And yes, so much easier said than done, especially in this day and age, which I've referred to, this social media era we're in. But now you've got so much more to think about. And yes, it would be easier just to go, I'm going to talk to this person like this or this group like this, and they can all deal with the way that it's communicated. Unfortunately, that is not the way that it works these days, and you'll end up losing your staff members very quickly if you treat them as a number. I think it was okay in decades past, but employees want more these days. And if you're clear from the get-go, you may have a chance. But if you're going to push this beautiful workplace and everyone's harmonious and we all get along and, rainbows and butterflies, and then they come through and it's a toxic mess, well, you're not going to survive. And you will be bogged down in politics and you'll be at HR every other day. You really need to be in touch with your employees. And a note to big business out there, these empty initiatives, they're not going to fly anymore. You've got hundreds, thousands of TikTokers and YouTubers and Instagrammers out there that are going, here's HR 101. They don't care about you. They care about the business. The managers are telling you what you want to hear. They're all hip to the tricks that management play. So be wary of that, because that is just ammunition. I think that any good manager would look at themselves and comparing themselves to bad managers and getting more information out there about how to be a good manager. Because, like I said at the beginning, my industry is very different to hospitality, which is very different to retail. So it's all very different, but it's all got that same message. And that is about being genuine and authentic. So we'll finish this section off with a few management tips. Staff shouldn't be concerned about what mood you're in. Don't make your staff feel dumb and insecure about their intelligence. Don't confuse your staff with facades. How are you presenting yourself as a manager? And it should be consistent. Perception is reality. It really doesn't matter if it's true or not. But from the staff's point of view, if they perceive it to be true, just know that that is spreading like wildfire. And finally, practice humility. And humility, in its definition, is the feeling or attitude that you have no special importance that makes you better than others. That is massive, because if you're walking around with some self-appointed importance, you've lost your staff already. They will not identify with that because they're not on your level. And if you think that the walking around and that intimidation tactic works, not in this day and age. It hasn't for some time now, but it is more relevant than ever. And now for the difference between small business and big business and corporations in relation to management and leadership. There is no massive difference. I really thought that there was some profound message that I was going to be able to tell you in relation to managing a small business versus managing a large business. And whilst you've got the obvious differences in relation to how many staff members you've got and the revenue, the underlying message is the exact same. It's about respect. It's about understanding. It's about communication. It's so simple. It's so simple that it's painful that so many managers out there have it wrong. And circling back to the beginning of this podcast, reflect. Have some self-awareness, because the way that you treat people, whether that is at work, your family and your friends, it's all very similar. I think that bad managers out there are just, to put it bluntly, are shitty people. So are you a shitty person? Because it's really, it seems simple to me. Just like Customer Service 101, it was simple. You've got a job to do it. And if you are not suited to customer service, get out of it. Just like management. If you're not cut out to be a good manager, do everyone a favor and get the hell out of there, because there is enough heartache in this world. And for somebody to have to go to work and have to deal with a shitty manager, no, ain't nobody got time for that. So just be nice. And if you don't have the qualifications or the experience to be a manager, don't do it. Again, reflect. Why are you a manager? How did you get there? All very, very important stuff. All very simple in its concept. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you benefited from this topic and gained some unique insights from my experience, investigation, and observations. For those of you that have subscribed, thank you. You will be notified of my next podcast. Until next time, stay positive and keep seeking knowledge. See you soon.